Breaking tonight, just hours after a new committee is formed to investigate Benghazi, Fox News confirms a stunning email exchange reaching the top levels of the White House. An exchange it appears the Obama administration does not want the American public to see. Welcome to the Kelly File, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. Just a short time ago, Fox News learning new details of an internal debate at the White House in the weeks after 4 Americans were killed in Benghazi, Libya. These emails involve some of the president's top advisors and the question of whether or not the administration knew this was terror and not some spontaneous demonstration gone wrong from day one. Our chief intelligence correspondent, Catherine Herridge, reports from Washington. Catherine?
Well, Megyn, we are learning tonight that a 7-page email circulated at the highest levels of the White House, apparently to come up with a media strategy to deal with the Fox News report, is being withheld by the State Department, citing executive branch deliberations. The Fox News report from September 27, 2012 concluded the intelligence community knew Benghazi was terrorism within 24 hours. On that email chain, Dennis McDonough, the president's deputy national security advisor during Benghazi, John Brennan, who now runs the CIA, and presidential advisor Ben Rhodes, whose email critics say linked Benghazi to the video to shape the public discussion.
A 7-page dialogue concerning one Fox News report, to me, demonstrates an alarm bell situation where they are reacting to and trying to shape a response.
These documents reviewed by Fox News show there may be other problems. Some unclassified emails were retroactively classified by the State Department, and other emails sent to the Hill are more heavily redacted than the same emails released to Judicial Watch by order of a federal court. A State Department spokeswoman today dismissing the differences.
There are a bunch of documents. I can't speak to every single one of them. I focused on this one because you all are so focused on it.
And tonight, the Obama administration and Democrats in the House say they are undecided about that select committee, but boycotting the panel will limit their ability to respond to these new Republican allegations. Megyn.
Wow, Catherine, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, my next guest argues that President Obama could put the Benghazi debate to rest once and for all by doing one long overdue thing, he says, releasing the Benghazi intelligence briefings. Mark Thiessen makes that argument in his new Washington Post column, which is getting a lot of attention, saying the president's daily brief would reveal exactly what President Obama was told and when. So why hasn't he done it? Mark's a fellow at the American Enterprise Institute and a former speechwriter for President George W. Bush. Mark, the Democrats are saying that everything we need to know has been told. Jay Carney came out and said the administration has been forthcoming. And yet you argue there is one thing they have not produced that your former boss, George W. Bush, did produce, and that there's precedent for releasing this to the public. Tell us.
Absolutely. Look, President Obama says that he was only repeating what the intelligence community told him when he said that there was an internet-inspired protest that went awry and led to the Benghazi attack. If that is true, it's a very simple way to prove it. Release his presidential daily intelligence briefing that he got in the days after the attacks, which will show exactly what the intelligence community told him. We'll learn whether they said there was an internet-inspired video. We'll learn what they told him, what level of confidence they put in it. All of that is in those briefings. And look, there's a precedent for it. In 2004, at the request of the 9/11 Commission, President George W. Bush released his presidential daily intelligence brief, which said bin Laden preparing to attack the United States, because people had said that we had been warned about 9/11. And that document showed that there was just vague intelligence and no actionable intelligence that could have been used to stop the attack. He was vindicated. So if Obama is right, if he really was being told by the intelligence community that this was an internet-inspired video, all he has to do is prove it, put out the intelligence brief, and he'll be vindicated, and the whole Benghazi scandal will go away.
And most of us have never seen a presidential daily brief. You say it assesses the level of confidence they would be giving him. Let's say in the White House's version, okay, Mr. President, this was a spontaneous protest that was inspired by an anti-Muslim video. They would have a level of confidence attached to that. What else would they have in that memo?
Well, what they do, the intelligence community, when it makes a judgment for the president, it does two things. First, as you say, it adds a level of confidence, low, medium, or high, that's attached to that judgment. And then also, they include dissenting views. So, for example, we know that the station chief, the CIA station chief on the ground, dissented from the judgment that there was a protest. We know from General Lovell.
And we just heard Catherine Herridge report that there's a 7-page document, including Ben Rhodes, the guy who sent out, remember, this is all about a video. It's all about a video, not a failure of policy. He too was there. I mean, so if he knew, how did President Obama not know?
Oh, he knew. So what happens is, one, the dissenting views would have been included in his intelligence briefings. He would have been told that the CIA station chief dissented from that judgment. And two, if over a course of a few days, from the day of the attack to when Susan Rice went out, there would be a differing level, probably, of confidence as the dissents came in. As the intelligence started to question the initial judgment, you might have started with a medium level of judgment, and then it would have dropped down to low. So were they still going out and saying to Americans it was an internet video when the judgment that it was, if there was such a judgment ever, was going down, and dissents were being reported to the White House? So this is how we can know. It is a knowable fact what the President of the United States was told. So is he willing to come forward and tell us what the intelligence community told him, just like George W. Bush did? They've
been saying all along there's no there there. This is nothing. This is all invented by Republicans. They've said it again today. And yet this document would answer those questions definitively one way or another. As we have, Catherine reporting about this document that shows they knew it was terror. We've heard that before, but now it's in print. They knew it was terror within a day. At the same time, Ben Rhodes knew it was terror, according to this document. At the same time, Ben Rhodes, days later, is preparing Susan Rice to go on the talk shows and telling her to tell everybody it's all about an internet video. We need something more. The administration claims it's told us everything. Clearly, it has not. Mark, I'll give you the last word.
Just simply that, why is this important? Because the president, we know since Benghazi that the president of the United States lied to us about Obamacare. This is his top legislative priority. In the context of that, Fox polls, 61% of Americans say that the president lies most of the time or some of the time on important matters. In that context, it is absolutely reasonable for Americans to want to know, did the president lie about Benghazi too? These documents can prove it. If he's got nothing to hide, he's got nothing to fear. Let him go.
Mark, thank you.
Thanks, Megan.
Well, we mentioned this newly formed select committee that they want to push on Benghazi. But before this committee can possibly get to work, Democrats have been suggesting today they will not be participating. And the White House is indicating it may not either. Judge Andrew Napolitano joins us now on what happens if a stone wall goes up. He's our Fox News senior judicial analyst. So, Judge, Boehner now says they're going to go forward with it. Trey Gowdy's been placed in charge of it. But the Democrats are saying, you may be counting us out. And George Will and others were saying today, if they do that, that will make this intensely partisan and diminish its credibility. Can they be forced to participate? Does it undermine the committee entirely if they don't?
In my opinion, they cannot be forced to participate. Speaker Boehner and the rest of the House will probably designate which Democrats they want to be on the committee. If they choose not to serve, they will be undermining themselves by cutting out a forum that they would have to challenge the evidence that Chairman Gowdy and his investigators dig up. They basically will be waiving the right to challenge that evidence, and they'll be undermining their own credibility.
What can the Select Committee do? Because it's not the same thing as a special prosecutor.
Correct. The Select Committee cannot prosecute, it cannot charge, it cannot indict, but it has extraordinary subpoena power. I'll tell you what it can do. It can find out where the President of the United States was during those 8 crucial hours.
How? We haven't been able to do that thus far.
They can serve a subpoena, which, if it is not honored, they can go right around the corner to the United States District Court. And under a very famous case that you know and I know and many people watching us know, called United States versus Nixon, they have a very good chance of getting that subpoena answered before the judge. And the judge will then look at those documents and decide which ones to be turned over and which ones to send back to the White House. This White House has never done that. They've never been forced to do that, and they are terrified of doing that because they don't want us to know whatever the truth is.
Can they subpoena President Obama?
Yes, they can subpoena President Obama.
Really?
If he resists, we have a constitutional crisis, and the third branch, a judge would hear it. It may even go to the Supreme Court of the United States. But if this committee gets the broad subpoena power that Speaker Boehner has indicated they will get by a majority vote of the House, they can subpoena anybody as to whom they believe has information that they have the right to know about.
You heard Mark talking about the presidential daily brief. I assume that would not be among the documents to which they could gain access, even with a subpoena.
I don't think they could gain access to it.
You're going to have executive privilege on that.
But I agree with Mark, and I think it could go to a judge, and the judge would look at it and could selectively say,
really?
This part can come in, this part can stay subject to
You think we could get to a place where a subpoena gets the presidential daily briefs in the hands of a judge who could review it in camera, meaning behind closed doors by him or herself, and then that judge could say this piece needs to be released and that piece doesn't?
Absolutely. That's exactly what happened with Watergate with Judge John Sirica, and he was upheld by the Supreme Court of the United States.
Wow. Well, that would make some headlines.
Yes, it would. And it might get us to the truth once and for all.
Good to see you, Judge.
Good to see you, Megan.